Has anyone else been seeing this trend of girl pretty versus boy pretty? Because, like, now I'm starting to see what you guys are talking about, and I can't stop thinking about it. And I feel like I could come up with so many examples for this in, like, the most non-judgmental way, too. It's not like saying, like, oh, she's girl pretty, she's not girl pretty. It's not even that. I just feel like there's a legit difference, and we need to talk about it. Example, girls with bangs, only girl pretty. I feel like men don't care for bangs. Every man that I've met does not like bangs, actually. Like, they just don't like it at all. Girls with bobs or short hair could be girl pretty or boy pretty, but most of the time girl pretty because men are, like, obsessed with long hair. Girls who do, like, fun eyeliner colors or just, like, fun makeup looks, girl pretty, because I feel like men are such haters when it comes to makeup, and they do not care about if your eyeliner is blue or not. And not even to be that girl, but I feel like my makeup right now is really giving boy pretty because it's just, like, bare minimum. Like, one time I did this, like, crazy, like, black eyeliner up here because I like to experiment with makeup, and my boyfriend was like, what is that? And I was just like, no, I look good. I think you just don't get the vision. There's also different auras that they give off, but that's a conversation for a different day.
How to tell if you're guy pretty or girl pretty. Now, guy pretty is universal, okay? If you're pretty to guys, you're gonna be pretty to girls as well. But with girl pretty, you're more just prettier to the girls, and the guys are like, they either find you cute, they don't find you ugly, but they're just like, you know, she's cute or she's attractive, but not really for me. This is gonna make it easy to tell. Girls can be really, really bitter. So if you're getting a lot of compliments from guys, they're like, oh, she's beautiful, she's lang, I want her, she a baddie. These girls, they're gonna make, like, snarky little side comments. They're gonna, like, act jealous. They're gonna try their best to kind of bring you down in a way, and some may even do it without even realizing. Now, I consider myself more girl pretty, but in the past, I've definitely had my fair share of, like, guys, you know, like, coming up to me and speaking to me and showing interest in me. And I've experienced the jealous chitter-chatter before. And they're just, like, little snarky comments like, oh my gosh, why are they always talking to her? Like, what does she do for them to be moving to her? Like, just little comments like that, and you're just there like, what are you calling me ugly? Like, or they'll make it sound like really unbelievable that you're getting, like, attention from guys. So yeah, that's a really, really good way to tell if you're guy pretty, if girls are just really jealous around you and they just make comments like that. And some of them just, like, they make these comments, some of them without even realizing it. I probably, when I was younger, made snarky comments like that, like, oh, like, why are they always going to her and blah, 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 just because I was jealous. The next one is flaws and imperfections. I don't know what it is about guys, especially when they're younger, but it's like they all just go for the same type of look in females. And this is no hate to the girls at all. They are beautiful and there's nothing wrong with them at all. But I just feel like the guys, like, go for the same type of look over and over again, and they don't really, like, see or appreciate, like, beauty in imperfection and flaws the same way girls do. So with girls, like, even with things like basic, like, freckles all over their face, girls would see that as so pretty. Like, we're like, that is beautiful, like, you just look good, like, we love it. Things like gaps in your teeth. I have a gap in my teeth. I like it. It makes me feel different. But, like, I know a lot of guys and so on would prefer more just straight teeth, or they just don't really see, like, the actual beauty in it. They either don't care or they don't like it. I'm not even going to use the word imperfection and flaws because I don't believe that exists. So if you're someone with more unique features and you have just features that set you apart and just make you, then a lot of the time you're going to find that you're more girl pretty. If you just in general get complimented a lot by females, and we're not talking about just your bestie typing you when you post an Instagram photo or something. No, we're talking like you get stopped a lot by girls and girls are like, oh my gosh, you're so pretty. What I've noticed is when a girl is, like, conventionally beautiful and, like, has that Instagram model type vibe and look, and, you know, they recognize as guy pretty, is like, everyone knows it and they just assume that that girl doesn't need compliments. Especially girls do this. Like, the girls will just assume they're either stuck up or they just already know they're pretty. They just assume they get told it every single day. So most of the time they won't really go out their way to compliment them. So if you find yourself consistently always getting told you're beautiful by girls, you're most likely more girl pretty. And if you find yourself, like, less on the girl side but you're always getting moved to by boys and so on, they're always telling you you look good, you're this, you're that, then you're most likely more guy pretty. And if it's like a mixture of both, like both genders just coming up to you and going, wow, you're stunning, you're this, you're that, then you're guy pretty. And the last one is to look in the mirror. If you have more of that conventional beauty going on, like you get told constantly you could be like one of those Instagram influencers. You've got those siren eyes, the small nose, big lips, like straight teeth. You've got like beautiful long hair, like all of that. You've got a small face that's like very proportionate. Like you I think we all know the type of like look I'm talking about. Then you are most likely guy pretty, girly. Once again, no hate to anybody, no hate to any girl that's guy pretty, no hate to any girl that's girl pretty. This is just my opinion on this type of look I think is more attractive to each gender. And do not watch this and go get insecure after, because I'm just some random girl on the internet. Do not take my advice like it's your whole world, okay? You look good, you look lovely, there is nothing wrong with you. You are a stunner, okay? A stunner, and that is all I have to say. And that is all, bestie.
I'm a scientist studying human mating behavior, and there is a gap between what men find pretty in women and what women find pretty in women. This has gone viral recently as a folk psychological concept known as boy pretty versus girl pretty. And people trying to decipher this are talking about energies and auras and whatnot, and there's some actual scientific theory worth discussing here. I spoke about related topics with subject expert Dr. Tanya Reynolds, and there are plenty of reasons for women to say that attractive women aren't pretty. Competitor derogation is mate competition 101. We don't want to admit the strengths of our strongest competitors. This is likely why attractive women are victims of tremendous gossip, and why all the boys at your school were annoyed by Justin Bieber and One Direction. To be clear, men do this too. Just think about how males who aren't very pretty react to pretty boys. Second, and this is admittedly more speculative, but heterosexual women won't know what it's like to be attracted to a woman as a man, and vice versa. And so it makes sense that when assessing someone's attractiveness, there might be a mismatch in what they're focusing on. This is called a failure of cross-sex mind reading. And again, this happens to men as well. For instance, men generally think that men with tattoos are more sexually attractive, but studies on this show that women don't really care either way, which would have been good to know in high school. Third, and finally, I want to talk about some hard quantitative data on this. One of the most consistent differences between girl pretty and boy pretty is that women put a significantly higher priority on thinness as a component of attractiveness than men do. If you bring people into the lab and say, which of these women has the most attractive body, women will consistently pick thinner women than men do. And frankly, I don't think you need a study to know this. Just look at the visually apparent difference in BMI and body fat percentage between the models men admire and the models women admire.
The male gaze versus the female gaze. And when I think about my own taste in women as a bisexual...
Okay, I loved that video and I had to jump in because my friends have a phrase that we use for this and we call it girl pretty versus boy pretty. The creator of the video was talking about how people don't understand Sarah Jessica Parker's beauty because there's this huge joke that she's ugly when she's literally the most beautiful woman ever. And so my friends and I saw this phenomenon happening a lot in college, and like a lot of girls were getting a ton of play, like go off, but we were like, wow, that's not really, she's not very interesting to us. So like, but everyone's like gagging over this girl. And that's when my friend created the phrase boy pretty versus girl pretty. The basis of boy pretty and girl pretty is that the Venn diagram is kind of off. Like women will find a certain woman so magnetic, so beautiful, so interesting, and that's girl pretty. And then boys will be like, yeah, but look at this girl, she's so hot, or like this is what we find most attractive. And women will be like, I don't get it. Like she's beautiful, but like I don't get energetically or like the aura why you think that. You could say that boy pretty is just men finding conventionally attractive women beautiful and girl pretty is unconventionally attractive women, but it's not exactly that because it goes a little bit deeper. Like girl pretty is often an aura, like she's very, very beautiful, but it's also like in this interesting way that you can't stop looking at. Maybe her clothes are amazing. Maybe she's really good at some talent that is just like beautiful, or she's like soft spoken in a way that is so enticing when she speaks. Like it can be an energetic mix of a ton of things. Whereas often boy pretty is very aesthetic. And while women appreciate beauty and aesthetics, because we appreciate beauty and aesthetics, we can see the depth of some other things. So yeah, a lot of times, sometimes my friends and I will be like, wow, is she boy pretty or is she girl pretty? And then it explains a lot about the level of interaction between that person and society or our circles, like how she moves through the circle. It is so loud in New York, I can't. Basically, boy pretty and girl pretty really says a lot about how you're perceived in the world as a woman because, you know, we're always being perceived and judged and looked at. So once you understand why a woman is looked at a certain way, or people make memes about her having a horse face, it's because you know, the male gaze can't handle Sarah Jessica Parker, and they probably can't handle you. So
I'll swear you don't know if you're girl pretty or guy pretty, but just ask yourself these 4 questions. Number 1, what shape are your eyes? Because what I noticed is that the girlies who tend to have more upturned eyes, they tend to be more boy pretty. And the girlies with the downturned eyes, y'all are more girl pretty. Number 2, what is people's first impression of you? Because if you are a boy pretty, a lot of girls will say, oh, I felt so intimidated by you. I thought you were gonna be a bitch. If you're more girl pretty, people will say, oh my god, yeah, you seem so approachable. You seem so nice. Number 3 is very similar. What are people saying about you behind your back? Because if they're saying stuff like, oh, there's just something about her I don't like, you're probably boy pretty. But if people are saying, oh, she's so sweet, oh, she's so cute, you're probably girl pretty. Last but not least, how do you do your makeup? I feel like if you're more boy pretty, you do more of the clean girl look. You know what I'm saying? Less is more. But if you are girl pretty, you'll just be experimenting, doing very colorful makeup. It will kind of be given 2016 vibes, you know? The way you do your lashes especially, that's the dead giveaway.
This is just a PSA to all guys out there who are confused why girls don't find them or other people they think are attractive. There's a huge difference between what men think is hot and what girls think is hot. And what girls think is hot has nothing to do with what boys think is hot, like at all. It's a completely different scale. It's a different sport. It's in a different league. What girls think is hot, like I'm a guy, I don't even know. But I know it's on a different playing field.
The quickest and easiest ways to figure out if you're girl pretty or boy pretty is to look at the way women treat you around their male partners. If other women are worried about their partner pursuing you or cheating on them with you, then that is a huge sign that you are boy pretty and not girl pretty, because girls will get intimidated by women like this. And even if the relationship that you have with a man is purely work related, it's a lovely friendship, you've known him for years, they will still get quite intimidated by you if they haven't done a lot of internal work, and they will blame you, causing a lot of issues within the friendship that you have with that man, etc. So if they're projecting and are getting increasingly worried that their partner is going to cheat on them with you, and if this has happened to you a few times in life, then heads up, spoiler alert, boy pretty, not girl pretty. You are boy pretty.
Something that completely changed my perspective to think about lately is this concept of boy pretty versus girl pretty. Well, let me explain. So the time period of my life where I by far received the most attention from males, the most compliments, the most guys asking me out, the most guys pursuing me, this, that, the other, was when I personally felt like I was in a flop era. Like, I look back at that era and I'm not obsessed with who she was. It was definitely before I really developed my personal style. I was still dressing what I would call pretty basic. My self-confidence wasn't all the way there. I was still pretty quiet and timid. Even things like my body type, I didn't have my ideal body type. So I went through this big transformation period where I felt like I was glowing up a lot, but I remember being confused because I was like, okay, I feel like I look so much better, and yet I'm getting less attention from males than ever in my life. What I did notice though is while I was getting far fewer compliments from men, I was getting compliments out of the wilderness from women. Like, girls were coming out of the woods, fighting through armies, going out of their way to compliment me and tell me I looked so good. And that made me feel better than anything, to be super clear. I'm not saying any of this is bad, but recently I heard this theory of girl pretty versus boy pretty, which, if you haven't heard, is essentially this idea that there is a different ideal beauty standard for women in their minds versus men for women in their minds. And I was like, no, that makes so much sense, because I don't think I've ever asked a man who his celebrity crush is and had him say like Bella Hadid, Kendall Jenner, versus for me, my like beauty icons are these supermodel type women. Right or wrong, I don't know. I know beauty standard is a whole issue in itself. I'm just saying, like, that is what I'm personally drawn to, and it's never matched up with what I've heard men being personally drawn to. So the moral of this story is, if you're out there killing it, like, you're developing your personal style, you're doing your thing, you're feeling better than ever, and you're like, why are men non-existent right now? This could be part of it, but at that same time, now I know that if I ever stop getting as many compliments from females and start getting more compliments from males, like, I need to get it together, because I'm falling off. Like, in my personal opinion, I think girl pretty is so much more iconic than boy pretty. I don't know, I just find it so interesting, but boys, just know that if you ever start complimenting me again, I will be offended. Okay. Have such a good day, guys. Bye.